What is going on, guys? Sonic and the Bean Show here. Today we are back with a brand new Jakks specific review on Wave 10 of the Sonic the Hedgehog figures, and we hit the double digits, man. We're finally on the 10th wave of these Sonic figures. Soon we'll also be on the same boat as their 2.5-inch figures as well, but it's pretty shocking. We officially made it to the 10th wave. Now, of course, we are going to be taking a look at these three here since Amy is the re-release figure in this set, but she will still make an appearance in this video because I wanted to compare her with Vector and see how that looks. But let's go ahead and get started with these figures, starting out with their packaging. So here's a new variant of the classic Sonic figure. It's really just a new face expression they gave him. I think his arms are a bit more bent this time than his older one, but I think that's all I'm seeing from there. He does come with the yellow spring. It's kind of weird though because he doesn't come with like the warnings as Vector does. Same thing with Ray. That's kind of odd right there, but the packaging is about the same thing. He does come in the classic packaging. You get your Sonic the Hedgehog logo right here. You get Sonic up there and the Jakks specific logo right here. On the back of the packaging, we can see that he has 11 points of articulation. There's a bio right there if you want to pause and read. We also get some pictures of the articulation of Sonic, and then you can see the other three figures in this set right there. So that is the classic Sonic figure. Now moving on to Ray. So Ray, same thing. He does get the classic packaging. He does come with the red chaos symbol right here, so that's nice. Look at the eyes. The eyes look a bit different than it did in the prototype a little bit. They look a little bit wider, but it still looks pretty nice. I do like the way how Ray is looking so far. But yeah, same thing of how the packaging was for classic Sonic. Turn it on to the back. He has 12 points of articulation and does show the articulation right there. There's a bio if you guys want to pause and read. And then same thing, all the other figures in the set, and then, you know, the warnings and everything right there. So that was Ray. On to Vector. I'm really anticipated on how Vector is because this guy looks amazing. So look at that. Now he does come with the 10 ring. He is in the modern packaging, so you can kind of see the modern Sonic picture right there. Sonic the Hedgehog logo, Jakks specific logo again. And then coming into the back, again, he has 13 points of articulation. So there's that. You can also see the bio to pause and read right there. And then yeah, again, all the other figures in the set. So now that we went over their packaging, let's go ahead and take a closer look at these figures out of their box and see how good these figures truly are. So here's the figures out of their packaging on the rotating base. Liking what I'm seeing, man. I do have my problems though on one of these figures that we're going to dive into, but overall I think these look great. It's always cool seeing the modern and classic characters in a wave together. I always find that really fun. It's been a while too since we've had more than one classic character in the 4-inch line, so I think that's pretty epic that they mix it up a bit here. But let's go ahead and take a look at their accessories, look at each figure one by one, do some figure comparisons, and then of course we'll be back here giving you my final thoughts near the end. So here's the accessories these guys came with. They're really just re-released accessories. Of course, Ray did came with the red chaos emerald, which I mean, I'm never really going to complain about having too many emeralds. I think the emeralds are really cool, so you get that. And then classic Sonic did came with the yellow spring, so just another spring right there. And then Vector came with the 10 rings, or the super ring if you want to call it. And then, you know, of course, Amy did came with her Pico hammer. So yeah, those were the accessories you get there. So here's a closer look at classic Sonic, starting out with the head sculpt. I really do like the new face expression they gave him. He's like very happy, so he has like more of an expression going on there. But as far as everything else goes, it is really the same, except that I think his the way how his arms is bent, they're like more closer to his torso, so it's not the same thing as his other one, which I'll do a quick comparison what I mean by that. But you can see you know, his arms is a bit more bent than this one is. I don't know, I have like mixed feelings on that because usually when stuff like this happens, you don't really get a lot of movement with their arms, and that bothers me. Another thing that's kind of weird is like this whole mouth part isn't all the way to the bottom, like to his head, so you kind of get this blue line that just kind of cuts there, which looks a little weird, really. Like, I don't know, like, again, for another comparison, you'll see what I mean, how, you know, the whole mouth is all the way to the bottom of his head, but this one, it doesn't have that. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I really like the expression though. I think the expression adds a lot of like charm to the figure, so that's my favorite thing about it. But as far as everything goes, it is, you know, the same thing. It's really just the new expression and then his arms being a bit more bent, but everything else is about the same. I'm not seeing anything else that's different with this classic Sonic figure. But going over his articulation, you get a full rotation in the head, which is pretty loose actually. I have a really loose head right here. And then the arms, like I said, you don't really get a lot of movement since how bent they are. So you do get a hinge. Of course, no elbow joints, but this is all you get. You get a full swivel right here. You get a swivel to the wrist as well. And then for the legs, he can kick forward about here and back about there. He also does have knee joints just a little bit. You don't get much right there. And then of course you get your ankle swivel right there. So that's the articulation on this Sonic figure. Again, it is really the same thing as, you know, your average, you know, your regular classic Sonic figure. But I can't really say too much about it. It is really the same thing. I'm just not a fan of, you know, the bent arms really, because you don't get, you know, a lot of movement with it, like of how closed in it is. But what I will say is I really like the expression. Like, I think the expression adds a lot to the figure, and that's probably my favorite thing about it. And I think that's probably the highlight of this figure really. I think that's what I really like about it the most. But as always, let's go ahead and do some figure comparisons with my other classic Sonic variants. So let's go ahead and do that. So for your figure comparison, here we have is the Laughing Sonic and then the regular classic Sonic to the left, and then to the right is the Jakks Gold classic Sonic figure. I really like this comparison. I like the variety of classic Sonic figures we're getting so far. It's pretty nice. I think these look really good together. Next up, we'll be taking a look at Ray the Flying Squirrel, starting out with the head sculpt. It's really the same thing as his 2.5-inch figure. I think the eyes are just a bit bigger, but he still has, you know, the same expression really. Even the whole torso and everything is about the same thing. Like, he's still in the same pose as he was in his 2.5-inch figures. So it's really just that. I think the head's a bit oversized maybe, but I don't think it's really that bad. I think it still looks good. I like the, you know, the smile he got. It definitely captures him really good. You got the hair pointing up like that. You also got his wings right here. Definitely looks really good. The blue shoes is nice. The tail, yeah, it's a really good Ray the Flying Squirrel figure. I think they did a good job, but other than that, that's pretty much what you're getting here with Ray. But I think it looks pretty good. I do like it. Now for Ray's articulation, you get a full rotation in the head. The arms can move up and down. You also get a hinge. It's about the same thing as classic Sonic with the hinge and then the arms being bent right there. Not a lot of movement, of course, and it's a little hard to try to do the hinge because of, you know, the wings kind of hitting his head right there. But he also gets wrist articulation right there. And then coming to the legs, he kicks forward about here and then back about there. You also get your knee joints just a little bit. It's about the same as classic Sonic's, where you don't get as much like bent to the knees right there. But you also get your rotation in the ankle. And of course, as always, Ray can move his tail, which isn't a ball joint, so you can turn at his tail right there. And again, the same thing you could do with his 2.5-inch figure. Now, my biggest problem with this figure, and it could just be on mine, but this Ray figure doesn't want to seem to stand well. There's something about his feet, like it's kind of the same thing as Mighty's, to where I kind of have to have a foot leaning forward to have him stand, or have him lean forward a little bit. But trying to have him lean, like just stood up a little bit, he will seem to fall back. So I don't know, and that was always an issue because, you know, trying to pose him around is a bit hard to do that. So the only way I can do that is if I lean him forward, or I like move his feet around, and you know, it gets annoying right there. But I just wanted to point that out because like I said, it could either be my figure. Now for your Ray figure comparison, here he is with the Mighty and then the classic Sonic figure that we went over earlier, and they look really good, especially Ray with Mighty right there. I've always wanted to do that comparison, you know, when the 4-inch figure of Ray was announced, so I really like that. And then I will also put in his 2.5-inch figure if you guys want to know how that looks like. So let me just move Sonic out the way, and there you have it. So there's a comparison with his 2.5-inch figure. They're really about the same. His eyes are just wider, he has like more articulation. But yeah, that is your comparison for Ray the Flying Squirrel. Next up, we'll be taking a closer look at Vector, starting out with the head sculpt. I think this head sculpt looks amazing. I think it captures him really well. It looks a lot better than how he first looked when we see like the product images, because I feel like the eyes were like really tiny or so, but these look a lot better. This Vector looks so good, man. They did a really good job. I mean, they even got the chain, the headset looks really nice on him. Everything looks amazing with this head sculpt. I do like it. You can see the teeth, the tongue right there, and you did see that I moved it because look at that. You can actually open and close Vector's mouth. I think that's I mean, I think that's about as much as you'll get right there. If you really wanted him, you'll kind of go back out a little bit. So that's the closest you can get to him to close it. But this is really, really cool, especially if you want to do stop motion, if you want to have Vector talk while you're doing that, which is really cool. However, the thing is, as long as your camera, like where my camera is, you want to have it like this if you want to have him talk to the front or to the side, because there is that green line right there, which looks really weird. But even from this, like this shot right here, this angle, you don't see it. So you can still do your stop motion while he's talking. And I like that so much. I'm definitely going to see myself using this one than my Jazzwares one. But as far as everything else goes, since the head sculpt was just amazing, everything else coming down is really good. Vector, he seems to be a pretty big figure. We won't know that until, of course, we compare him with the rest. But look at the hands, man. This man got massive hands. Which makes sense, man. Vector should have that. After all, I did see the dude holding Charmy. He's pretty massive, man, and it looks really good. If you're also wondering about the chain, you can't really like take it off. It is sculpted onto him. Same thing with the headset, unless you want to just rip it off if you want. But yeah, it is kind of like sculpted onto him, and then coming down, you can see you got the spikes going all the way down to his tail, which is really, really nice. I like that. This Vector figure looks really good. So let's go ahead and go over his articulation. Now, as far as articulation goes, he does get a full rotation in the head. That is if you really want him to turn his head all the way around. It does look a little weird because the chain kind of follows him when he does that, but you know, again, like I said, it is sculpted towards him, but it's not it's not like the biggest deal, really. Of course, like I showed earlier, you can move at the mouth, which is a really awesome articulation that they added there. That is really cool that they got that. You do get a hinge to the shoulder, which moves really nice. You also get your elbow joints. You can swivel that as well, so you get a swivel to the elbows. You also get your wrist articulation with Vector. It's a little stiff with mine, but it can still swivel right there. Now, coming to the legs, he kicks forward he kicks forward really good. You can see he kicks really good, and then he kicks back about there. No knee joints. He doesn't have any knee joints, but you can swivel his feet, so there's that. He does get ankle articulation, and of course he gets the tail rotation, so you can turn at his tail if you want. So now I almost forgot to mention, Vector can kick his legs up in the air like this, so he can kick his legs to the side, which is pretty cool. Very similar to how Amy could do hers, so that's pretty nice. So you can do the splits if you want. But yeah, that's pretty cool that Vector can kick forward, back, and then to the side. That's pretty nice. Very flexible figure, man. Like, a very big figure, but he's very flexible. I do like that. So that is pretty much your articulation with Vector. And Vector, he feels really good, man. Like, I think what I really like about Vector is I think there's a lot of things I can do with Vector and he can still stand really well. Like, even if I want him to stand straight, if I want him to, you know, bend a little forward, like he's a really good figure. They did an amazing job with Vector. I really like everything we got going on with Vector. We got to do some comparisons with this guy, so let's go ahead and get that out the way. Now for your Vector comparison, here he is with Knuckles and Espia. I thought I'd add in some chaotics right there just to do a little comparison for you guys right there. There actually was another comparison I almost forgot that I wanted to do, and that is of course Amy. So here's how they look together. If you guys want to see that, she can still kind of look up to Vector. You know, I think the height difference isn't, you know, too crazy, but I think it works, right? I mean, well, and maybe not as much. I think Amy's like still just tall, like, but I don't know. You guys can let me know about that. Now I did wanted to do another one, and that is with Omega, so we gotta do a comparison right there. So yeah, I think that could work right there. I think Omega is still a bit taller. I think he is. I can't exactly tell, but of course we had to compare him with the Jazzwares Chaotix figures, and I also put the walkie-talkie in his hand so you guys can see how that looks like. And of course his hands is like overly sized for it. Like, you can tell how big his hands are compared to that walkie-talkie. But I mean, I wanted to show you guys how it looks if you guys still want to try that out. But yeah, there you go. I think it still works just a little bit, you know, but you can still get it done if you want. But that pretty much wraps up our review on Wave 10 of the Sonic the Hedgehog figures. my overall thoughts, I think it's a pretty decent set. I wasn't too crazy getting into this wave when it was first announced and revealed. I really want to say Vector is what I was most excited for coming into this line, and the figure definitely delivered. This Vector figure is absolutely fantastic, man. I like what we got going on with this figure. The head sculpt is really good, articulation is very smooth. I really love the opening and closing mouth tool they added for him. I think that adds a lot into this figure. Classic Sonic's expression is a nice touch. I'm just not a fan of his arms being really bent because you can't do a lot of movement with them, and the same goes for Ray since they're almost similar to each other. What also bothers me is that my Ray figure can't seem to stand on both of his feet. I have to have one foot on the ground while the other tilts in the air, or sometimes I would have to lean him forward because he'll fall back if he's standing too straight. So just small things like that, but the figures still look great. Definitely enjoyed myself doing the review along with the comparisons. If you guys want to pick these up, they're starting to hit stores now. I got mine at my local Target, but these should still be available in other online retailers. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this review. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next video. Take care, my friends.